Welcome back to the Two G's in a Pod. Marlana's On the Grapevine. We are with Marlana, and we had a switch of guests. We had to say goodbye to Marylinda. She is on this huge tour of Nashua today. So we brought in the other millennial, who is...
He looks very young.
He is young.
Okay. It's very young.
See? We are sitting with Andrew Hemingway.
Yes.
You're on
Yes,
the
you are.
cam. Say hello, Andrew.
Hey.
Andrew is probably the youngest candidate in the history of New Hampshire running for governor.
I think that's probably true, yes.
There's no other.
No, I mean, the youngest governor that our state's ever had is Hugh Gregg, actually.
Oh.
Which, I mean, speaking about the Gregg
God,
family,
yes.
obviously, we need to mention the passing of Catherine.
Condolences to the Gregg family.
Yes. So the youngest governor was Hugh Gregg. He was 34 years old. 32, so I'll be a couple of years younger.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's exciting.
Isn't that it?
I'm
See?
the first millennial to run for governor anywhere in the country, and we've been able to talk about a lot of issues that I think are important specifically to millennials that have so far been sort of ignored, and I think we're gaining some national attention because we've done a number of shows, from Neil Cavuto on Fox News to some just straight millennial conversations and shows from California to New York, talking about some of these issues which are specifically to going to impact the millennial generation more than perhaps some of the other generations. So it's been very good, and the reception's been very, very warm. I think people are excited about a young candidate with a fresh face and new ideas and some new perspective, and so it's going to be very interesting.
And he is, I happen to know a little bit about Andrew's background. He is also an entrepreneur, big time entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
Tell the millennials how you started your own business.
Okay.
Well, first of all, Marlana, you asked the questions. What is the typical stay, work, play questions you ask these millennials?
Yes, go ahead. Ask me a question.
All right. Are you ready? Well, I think first we need to hear a little bit about you're currently still running that company. Are you
Yes.
able to sustain on its own while you're in this big campaign season?
Yes.
So sustainability is really important for a company. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with that right now.
Sure. So about just over a year ago now, about 15 months ago, we started a company called Grassloot. This is my third tech startup. We do essentially, the idea is to build a one-click donation button for nonprofits, and obviously mobile friendly. We've created a new some text messaging, text to donate technology, which sort of eliminates a lot of the costs and the overhead and things like that. So we've launched a company, a New Hampshire-based company, and right out of Hooksett in April of 2013, and today we're plugging along. We're doing pretty well, I think, and my partner just moved actually out to San Jose, California. We're looking for more development talent and things like that, so we're going to be expanding as far as we can, and so it's exciting.
That is exciting. Now, I guess I love that you're an entrepreneur, because I actually think people who get into politics, you can call yourself an entrepreneur as well, because you're creating a brand for yourself.
Right.
It's just like starting a company is kind of how I see it. And I think that a lot of young professionals now are getting inspired to create a product or a service and use all these resources that are out there. We're going to have Score on soon, who's free mentoring.
Right.
But I'm at the ABI Hub, and that's a great place for people who are just starting out to work.
Yeah,
so there's
great.
a lot of that. But how about in the politics world? I mean, I know that you rely a lot on volunteers.
Sure.
So
I mean, the last book that I read was The End of Big, how the internet changes everything. And essentially what we're seeing across the board, whether it's politics or it's business, is the end of big centralized organizations and infrastructures, and any sort of disruptive technology which can be created in order to empower everybody ultimately is what's winning today. I mean, Facebook is a perfect example of that. All of these types of social medias are empowering individuals to have a voice in the process, whether it's politics or it's business. I mean, Southwest flight is delayed and Twitter lights up. I mean, this is the way that it is now. So any sort of technology which ultimately makes that engagement easier, lowers the bar. This is one of the reasons why I'm excited about Bitcoin. I mean, I went out to San Francisco last week to a coin conference, and the technology and the disruptive technology, which is occurring around that currency, but even broader than that, I think there's a lot more opportunities for the technology there that's really, really exciting. And so I think today it's easier to create a product than it's ever been. You can create a product and bring it to market for $0. You've never been able to do that before. You can build audiences for $0. So I think it's an exciting time. I think it's very, very good. And I would love to see our state government be led by someone who understands this idea of decentralization, the idea of empowering citizens to have a broader voice and to be more engaged. I think that's a very powerful thing which can happen. And being from the millennial generation, that's just sort of my perspective, right? It's just sort of who I am and what we do anyways. And so I think that's what could be a very big plus for our state government.
Nice. And I mean, I think that a lot of people are getting involved on social media, even with government now, where that wasn't really the case,
Sure.
Where people can now ask questions or bring up thoughts and ideas. And it's really exciting to see people interact. So I think that's one platform that's really helped people engage more, because earlier on in the segment we were talking about how these young professionals or millennials are not going out and voting. So how do we get them out to vote? Well, now we can use different channels to grab their attention, but I think it's more than just a sign. It needs to be people want to get behind a message, and on your website you have a blog, and utilizing Twitter and driving people to your website on a blog that really interests them, rather than using political jargon, but really talking about messages that are important to the demographics that you're reaching.
Right. I think there's a lot of it's about engagement ultimately, and I think this is a big change from the traditional sort of campaigns which have been run, which is we'll run a TV ad, we'll throw up yard signs, and at the end of the day, you're going to vote for me just because of that. But I think that our generation sort of is beyond that. I mean, we're like, banner ads on our websites aren't anything new. Like, we know how to ignore those. We're just programmed to do it. I think it's all about engagement, and it's not just getting someone to engage with your brand, especially as a politician, but it's about getting them to become what they call raving fans, right? It's about taking that next step. And I think only when you've reached that point where both the emotional connection has been made and the logical connection has been made, they become your raving fan, and then they start to turn out. And I think that we have seen millennials vote in very high numbers around specific brands. When you look at them across the entire demographic, you go, oh wow, these guys aren't voting, but they clearly voted for Ron Paul. They clearly voted for Barack Obama. It's the brands that are willing to dedicate resources and to engage with millennials is the one that's winning. It's a different. You're having to campaign to this demographic in a different way than you have traditionally, and unfortunately, for consultants, there's not as much money in this because of the commissions that they used to take, and so they're resistant to adopting these the change, but that's what's going to happen because this is the way that we're going to win campaigns. So
yeah, you make so many excellent points. I mean, making those raving fans is what every business needs. That's what Grapevine marketing does. That's free marketing for you. So when you're, writing these tweets about different messages that you want to get out there, and then you start having people retweet that's going out to their whole audience. And I know there's certain people that actually endorsed you on my Facebook. I liked your page, but people were sharing your stuff this week recently, and I was like, wow, I really admire this person. This is someone I look up to. This is someone who I believe in. This is someone who's making an impact in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. For them to endorse you on my personal Facebook feed, these are my personal friends that, in my network the past 3 years. that makes such a huge impact. So I got more and more excited about meeting you and having you on the show because, you know, there's only so much that you can read on your blog and your Facebook and your Twitter and all of that. But as soon as your friends start putting that endorsement and you get all these raving fans, it's like, now it's like, what's his next event? I want to meet him in person. I want to hear what he has to stand for. I want my friends to get behind it, because I think what's great about young professionals as well is that we're like walking billboards for things that we believe in. We're like all about getting behind a cause if it is something that we get passionate about. But yeah, I thought that was...
Well, I think the idea of Grapevine is really cool. It's a great idea. And I think it plays to sort of the holy grail of marketing, which is word of mouth, right? I mean, it's that idea of peer-to-peer, which social media, again, empowers that concept, empowers that idea. So I think that's... I think it's cool. And you're right. I mean, we have seen a huge number of young professionals who understand how important it is to have someone in the governor's office and in state government sort of fighting for that next generation, trying to lower the cost of living so that we can build and grow families here and, you know, find jobs here. I mean, I think it's a huge issue for our state. And we have the aging demographic in our state is a very, very real problem for us. And it's something which we need to address. We need to start to fight some of that. And I mean, we love, you know, obviously all the generations in our state. I don't mean it to be negative about that, but our state's one of the fastest aging states in the country. And with that come increased costs. And if we don't have the young people there to pay for those costs, you know, it's going to be all left on the taxpayer. So it's something which we're talking about in our campaign too.
Well, and this non-millennial is going to cut in here and ask, how will you help to keep the millennials here, Andrew, as governor? I mean, because we're losing them and we're gaining them.
I'm going to snap my fingers and click my heels together.
And pray.
And they're all going to stay. I mean,
they're not red shoes.
we are going to build an economy in New Hampshire that is fair, and that is built on futuristic, you know, businesses and technology, which are, you know, highly attractive to younger, you know, generations. They pay higher wages. They hire young, tech-savvy people. There is a lot of opportunity around technology, around biotech, around high-tech manufacturing. There's a ton of opportunity where these companies are looking for, you know, young people coming out of college. I think I think it's interesting. We have in New Hampshire one of the top VC venture capital schools in the world in Dartmouth College and Tuck Business School. And we have just across the border there MIT and Harvard and all these things, right? So why isn't the southern part of New Hampshire, if we have the money and we have the brains, why does everybody go to California? Well, why isn't New Hampshire? I mean, why aren't we filled with high-tech startups? I mean, I think that we have all the beautiful natural resources, the lifestyle. You can live here. You can't live in San Francisco. I mean, I just went there. There's no comparison.
Ridiculous.
So the regulations, the cost of living, all of that stuff, we can compete with those things on. The problem we have right now is we don't have those jobs. So we need a governor who understands that economy, can innovate, and can make, you know, our state government fit that economy, can work to incentivize and bring those businesses here, or encourage entrepreneurs that are here to build and to grow businesses. And if we do that, our millennials, our young people graduating from our colleges will stay here. You know, if they get a job offer from a company in Merrimack or in Durham or in Plymouth, wherever the company is, they're going to stay here and they're going to work. They'd much rather do that. And I know out of my graduating class, only my wife and I are the ones who left in New Hampshire. And if my friends had gotten job offers out of college, they would have stayed here. And so that ultimately is the key. We need to address other things. We need to address the cost of living. It's very high. The cost of rent is very high. I think we need to really...
Here in New Hampshire?
Yes, in New Hampshire. I think we need to start to address some of these things. It's driven by property taxes primarily. You know, even our rooms and meals tax is higher than Massachusetts. The list goes on and on of things that we can address, that we can start to change. But I think that we need a governor who understands it, who can jump on it and start to do it right away.
Wow.
Gosh.
See?
I want more time.
Look at he.
I'm like,
She's fascinating.
If someone were to want to volunteer for, say, someone running for governor, how do they get involved?
Sure. Our website's the best place to start. It's andrewhemingway.com, just my name. You can find us on Twitter at Andrew Hemingway or Hemingway for Gov. On Facebook, we're Hemingway for Gov. And we're on
So
Instagram,
volunteering
others.
is anywhere from helping stuff envelopes to calling to putting up signs to going to events, being part of parades,
tweeting, Facebooking, emailing. Yeah, all that stuff.
What's your hashtag?
Phone calls. Hashtag live free is our hashtag. You can find us there.
How cool is that? I'm learning. I'm learning.
She's asking very educated questions about marketing.
I'm very impressed.
I'm sitting here with like everybody could be my children, but
Very impressed.
it was awesome to have you, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
It really
Nice
is
to meet you.
awesome to have you speak on a way that isn't a stump, which is
Absolutely.
great.
Anytime.
Which is great. Andrew Hemingway and Marlana, take us away and bring us back
Yes,
to next
so
week.
we won't actually see you guys until October on the Grapevine, but definitely follow us on our blog for the upcoming guest. And just a reminder, 2Gs in a Pod is brought to you today by Sweet Shop for Photography, on-the-go photographers for commercial events and headshot photography.